My sister robbed her own daughter's future to play queen for a night. That is what came out of my mouth when I finally answered her call on speaker. She laughed like I was auditioning for stand-up. It was only $7,000, she said. Senior week only happens once. I told her I manage that account because boundaries are love. She told me to calm down and front me 2 more just until summer. I said no. She said I was choosing money over family. I said family is not an ATM. Here is the headline before the mess. I went digging for prom receipts and uncovered something uglier than sequins. I moved the remaining money somewhere she could not touch, and the fallout blew up our family chat like a grease fire. By the end, my niece made a choice my sister never saw coming. And my sister, she hates me in a way that has a lock on it. Me, female, 35 years old, husband, male, 37 years old, sister, female, 38 years old, niece, female, 17 years old. I am a night shift dispatcher for a bus yard. My husband roasts coffee in a garage startup that always smells like warm almonds. We rent a tiny top-floor place on Cedar and 12th where the deli downstairs cooks bacon at 5 every morning, and the radiator knocks like a ghost. My sister lives across the river above a hair salon that sells incense and no-guff silk scrunchies. She has been solo parenting since graduation season was her last season. 6 years ago, when my niece was little and I realized my sister's budgeting involved hope and hashtags, my husband and I started a fund for the kid. $50 here, tax refund sliver there, birthday cards from grandma with a sticky 20. Every bit of it went into a college account with my name as co-custodian. My sister chipped in when she could. The one rule was carved in stone: education only. Not rent, not light bills, not lashes, and definitely nothing with rhinestones. Senior week rolled in late April. My niece looked like confidence on legs: cobalt dress, silver heels, a tiny clutch that clicked shut like a secret. Her friends posed on someone's dad's SUV. The steakhouse had a chandelier dripping glass like icicles. I double-tapped the photos, then opened the account app and felt the floor tilt. 11,000 and change had been marching toward 12. Now it was 4 and some dust. 7,000, gone, swallowed by a week I was not told about. I called. She answered on the second ring, already on the defensive. Relax, she said. There is still enough for a semester if she does community. She said scholarship like it was instant delivery. I told her she should have asked. She said she did not need permission to give her daughter something special. Then she tried the upsell. Front me 2 more. I will rebuild it by August. My no was quiet and final. 20 minutes later, my mother texted paragraphs about how prom only happens once and blood is thicker than bank statements. At midnight, my niece apologized for a fight she did not start. The flavor of guilt mixed with anger is metallic, like biting your tongue and swallowing the taste. At lunch the next day, I told my coworker Lexi what happened. Lexi runs payroll, wears gold hoops big enough to lasso the moon, and keeps a calculator like a pistol in a holster. $7,000 for prom? She snorted, peeling back the wax paper on a pastrami on rye. She tapped numbers with red nails and rattled off. Dress, hair, shoes, tickets, dinner, limo share, photos. Even bougie, that is not 7, she said, waving a pickle spear like a laser pointer. Ask for receipts. I texted my sister, send itemized receipts. She sent a photo of a garment bag, a crumbly handwritten invoice from Eddie Photos for $900 cash, and a picture of my niece's corsage. I asked about the rest. 10 hours of silence. Then a shrug emoji. That night, while washing a colander that smelled like basil and warm pasta water, my phone pinged with alerts I had set long ago. Not purchases, withdrawals. 2 big ones. $3,500 at an ATM inside a place called Galaxy Lights Casino off Route 20, time-stamped the day before senior week. Then $2,500 in a debit charge labeled Aurora Thrive Founders Kit. I asked the sync out loud if there was a prefix that came with roulette. I called, straight to voicemail. I texted my niece, soft as I could, asking what she paid for herself. She said she covered her nails and chipped in for the party bus, but Mom handled the big stuff. she added. Please do not fight her. I promised I would not fight her. I did not promise not for her. I printed the statements on our dying inkjet so the numbers came out a little blue-purple and pinned them to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a pineapple. The fridge hummed like it was anxious too. The next morning, my mother called and, in a voice sugared with guilt, asked the question she always asks when she wants me to fold: should siblings always stick together? The question had a trapdoor built into it. I suggested breakfast at Moe's Diner because pancakes muffle explosions. My sister slid into the booth smelling like Marlboros and a perfume sample rubbed from a magazine. The waitress with chipped red polish poured coffee that tasted like burned toast. I pushed the printouts across the formica. She pushed them back without looking. Look, she said, slicing her sausage into coins. I only used some. There is still enough. She can do a year at community. You took 7,000. Semantics, she said. Also, the limo guy wanted cash. Galaxy Lights wanted cash, I said, tapping the line. Her fork stalled midair like it hit a wall. And Aurora Thrive wanted your buy-in. What do you care? She shot back. You are not broke. Your husband literally roasts money for a living. Be the hero and front me 2 more. I will put it back by August. You will not. Then you are going to hold her money hostage? Her voice rose. Make my kids suffer because you need control? I am making sure she has a future. My hands were steady, even though my pulse sprinted. I will pay tuition directly. I will not subsidize your fantasy. She leaned back hard, eyes narrowed. You think you are better than me. No, I said. I think you are lying to me. She stood, threw a 20 on the sticky table like punctuation, and left. The bell over the door shook like it had nerves. 2 hours later, my niece texted me a photo of a notebook she found. On one page, Aurora Thrive, Founder Pack 4,999, ROI in 60 days. On the other, tally marks labeled recruits with names half-scribbled. A business that asks you to buy your dignity and resell the pieces. The bank activity made sense. It was not prom. It was a buy-in and a bet. It was not prom, I said to my husband, sliding the notebook photo across the table. The kitchen smelled like coffee oils and lemon dish soap. He read, winced, and said, set the firewall. I called the bank and moved the remaining money into a 529 plan with a distribution lock. Tuition, textbooks, lab fees, yes. Limos and founder kits, no. I also set it so any payment would go straight to the school. My husband rubbed the knot between my shoulders. Hold the boundary, he said. You are not her bailout. You are her guardrail. Meanwhile, our family chat pinged like a microwave. Cousins I have not seen since a picnic with paper plates weighed in with voice notes about being generous. My mother wrote, your sister said you called her a bad mother. I did not. I wrote, a good mother does not gamble the future. My sister texted at midnight, front me the 2, hero, and a sparkle emoji like she was selling me lip gloss. I typed and deleted 10 replies. Am I wrong for not giving in? I asked my husband, which felt less like a question and more like a plea dressed as a joke. He slid me a square of dark chocolate and said, when you are the only adult in the room, you cannot afford to blink. The next day, they arrived at our building like a small parade of ultimatums. My sister in a too-thin leather jacket, my mother in a floral dress and nerves, my aunt in oversized sunglasses pretending neutrality. The hallway smelled like rain on hot concrete and a little like someone's garlic knots. My sister pointed at our doorbell camera like it was a judge. Open up and do the right thing. I stepped onto the landing with a folder, forcing calm that was 40% adrenaline, 50% sleep deprivation, 10% theater. My mother clutched my elbow. Should siblings always stick together? She repeated, softer this time, like a spell. Mom, I said, handing her the printouts. She took $3,500 at a casino ATM and $5,000 for a founder kit from a company that sells dreams in swipeable squares. Whatever prom cost, it was not this. I showed her the notebook photo. She is old school enough to believe spiral notebooks. The sight punctured her speech like a pin popping a balloon. That is a business plan, my sister tried, each word wobbling. It is a pyramid with glitter, I said. She shouldered past me toward our door. We are moving the money back. You cannot, I said. It is locked. Her face blanked. Locked how? Restricted. Tuition only. Paid directly. You don't get to decide. I do, I said, voice steady, because I am the only one acting like it belongs to her. My aunt cleared her throat, neutrality cracking. Maybe this is a misunderstanding. I hit play on a saved voicemail. My sister's voice filled the hallway. Aurora guarantees returns if I hit founder level. It is the same as college, just faster. My mother flinched like the words were ice water. My sister slapped the phone from my hand. For a heartbeat, I thought she might swing. She did not. She pointed at me, finger trembling. You are dead to me, she said. 12 words, meme ready, cruel. She stomped down the stairs, keys jangling like bells on a cat that hunts badly. My mother stayed, arms crossed against the draft. She is going to say I betrayed her, she whispered. Tell her the truth betrayed her, I said. My hands were shaking when I closed the door. My niece texted that night from the park where old men play chess under buzzed-out lamps. We met at Rico's Pizza, shared 2 greasy pepperoni slices that left our plates translucent, and a lukewarm orange soda. She told me she was exhausted from being the adult in a house where the adult had a teenager's appetite for miracles. She had written 3 extra scholarship essays. A hardware store on Maple needed weekend help. The manager liked that she could lift heavy. I can do community college for a year, she said, dabbing sauce from her chin with a napkin that felt like sandpaper, if I know there is a path after. There is a path, I said. Here are my conditions. Keep the job, send me every financial document the school sends you, and talk to a counselor once a month about boundaries. I will pay the school directly. We will do this by the book. She nodded, eyes older than 17. Mom says you are trying to control me. I am trying to protect you, I said. Those are different. On the way out, I asked, quiet, would you support me or my relatives here? She stared at the smudged glass door. You, she said, because you do not lie to me. Then she added, like dropping a brick in my stomach, Mom told Grandma you shoved her. Heat climbed my throat. She is flipping the script. We drove past the high school. The prom banner still flapped like a question nobody wanted to answer. Under a streetlight, something sparkled on the sidewalk. Maybe a rhinestone, maybe broken glass. Either way, it reflected everything and belonged to no one. At midnight, my sister sent a screenshot of a small claims complaint she had drafted. Unlawful seizure of joint funds. She wanted me scared. She wanted me to mistake boundaries for theft. My husband pulled a tray of beans from the roaster, the room smelling like caramel and toast, and said, she is going to make you the villain either way. Be a villain with a receipt. The bank's conference room smelled like carpet cleaner and nerves. The branch manager wore a tie the color of toothpaste and studied our paperwork with someone who had watched families implode over money since flip phones. You both are listed on the account, he said, tapping the agreement we had signed on a sticky afternoon 4 summers ago. But the side letter states educational use only, and the beneficiary paragraph names your daughter. He looked at my sister. Withdrawals that do not fit the letter can be considered misuse. Moving remaining funds into a 529 with disbursement controls is appropriate. My sister tried. Prom is educational. The manager did not smile. He simply slid the printouts back across the table. My sister called me a thief anyway. I let the words sit between us like a cheap centerpiece wilting. Outside on the sidewalk, the traffic sounded like ocean waves made of impatience. My mother asked, small and tired, if there was any path back. She is my child, she said. I know, I said. I am not slamming a door. I am installing a lock. My sister brushed past us, got into her dented blue hatchback, and sped away like red lights were suggestions. Back home, I cleaned the kitchen, because you can control a sponge when you cannot control people. The counter smelled like lemon. The oven ticked as it cooled. My phone buzzed with cousins picking teams like it was dodgeball. I wanted to ask strangers to weigh in, because strangers are calmer than relatives with group chat megaphones. Instead, I opened a new email to my niece titled Tuition Steps and spelled things out like I was writing a recipe. Due dates, the bursar's address, a note about work study. "You are not responsible for fixing your mother," I wrote. She replied, "I know." I am not sure she does, but wanting to know counts. Later, my husband asked whether I felt guilty. I admitted guilt sits on my chest like a cat that refuses to blink. "Should I feel guilty for cutting them off?" I whispered into the quiet kitchen, the refrigerator's hum sounding like a lullaby I did not ask for. He kissed my forehead. "Guilt is what people hand you when consequences show up," he said. The messages did not stop. My cousin who sells real estate on social media posted a quote about haters over a picture of a yacht. My aunt texted a link to a motivational video about family loyalty. Someone tried to add me to an Aurora Thrive Club golf blossoms, all glitter fonts and hustle. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach did a little elevator drop. On Friday, my sister showed up at my job. The bus yard smells like diesel and rubber when the sun bakes it. She marched across the lot like a cop in a procedural, phone held high to record. "Everybody needs to know how you treat family," she said, camera on me. Lexi popped out of dispatch with her calculator like a badge. "We are not doing this," she told my sister, snapping gum. The yard manager, a man with a mustache that has seen some things, appeared like he smelled drama. I led my sister to the shade of an idling bus. "You want money," I said, "but you do not want accountability." "It is my daughter's money," she said. "You cannot gatekeep her future." "You bought a founder kit with her future," I said. "You placed a bet with her name on it." Her eyes flashed. "You do not even have kids. You do not get it." The words landed like a slap, even though she never raised a hand. I felt the reflexive flinch, the years of be the good sister, gearing up for their little dance. Then I remembered my niece eating pizza over a paper plate gone translucent. "I get that I love her more than you love being right," I said. "That counts." She took a step closer, jaw clenched, and I thought again she might swing. Instead, she hissed, "You will regret this," and stalked off, heels clicking on asphalt, the smell of hot rubber following. Inside, Lexi raised an eyebrow. "You good?" "I am better than fake peace," I said, surprising myself with how steady it sounded. Punchline short, memeable, true. That night, I drafted a formal boundary. No contact until she stops demanding money and starts telling the truth. I sent it to my sister and my mother. My sister replied with a thumbs down emoji and a link to a webinar about passive income. My mother wrote, "It hurts to watch you two like this." I stared at the blinking cursor, the taste of coffee and old fear in my mouth, and typed, "Sometimes the only way to love someone is from the other side of a locked door." Then the small miracle, an email pinged in my niece's inbox, and she forwarded it to me with 8 exclamation marks. Acceptance into the State University's engineering program with a partial scholarship. She could not stop shaking. We celebrated with takeout sesame chicken, which tastes like sugar pretending to be a life plan, and fortune cookies that crumbled into weirdly specific prophecies. My husband taped her acceptance letter to our fridge with blue painter's tape. I set up the first tuition payment directly to the bursar. I printed the receipt and pinned it under the pineapple magnet. The paper felt heavier than paper. On Sunday, my mother came by with a bag of oranges and eyes that had been crying. She looked at the letter on the fridge and covered her mouth with her hand the way she does when she is happy and scared at the same time. "She did this," my mother said. "You helped." We sat at the table and peeled oranges. The room smelt citrus sharp and clean. She asked, almost to herself, if blood should always win. "Blood should not outrank behavior," I said. The sentence hit the table like a gavel. News trickled in through the grapevine I did not ask to be connected to. Aurora Thrive restructured, and the founder kits did not come with ROI, only regrets. My sister posted a long story on social media about snakes in the grass and fake family. A week later, she sent a message through my mother. If she wants college, she can get loans. Who even needs college anymore? It was easier to be cruel than to be sorry. At work, Lexi slid me a sticky note with the words, "Peace is not the quiet that hides a fire." I stuck it to my monitor. That line felt like a compass. "Would you support me or my relatives here?" I asked her, echoing my own late-night anxiety, but pretending it was theoretical. "You," she said, as if it were not even close, because receipts beat vibes. I slept through the night for the first time in weeks. The last test came at a family cookout in my uncle's narrow backyard, where the grill smoke clung to clothes and the folding chairs always squeaked. I almost didn't go, but my niece wanted me there. My sister arrived late in sunglasses the size of satellites, chin lifted like royalty offended by the peasants. She stood far away and told a circle of cousins I had ruined her child's senior year. I could hear the words controlling, jealous, and no kids of her own. Every syllable felt like a pebble thrown at my back. My niece slipped her hand into mine. "I got the hardware store job," she whispered. Her palm smelled like sunscreen and a little like engine oil. Pride cracked my chest open in the best way. My sister finally approached, phone already recording. "So," she said, "are you ready to apologize?" "For what?" I asked, calm as a lake you know has a monster at the bottom. "For stepping over me like I am dead," she said, "for stealing my daughter's money." The word stealing made my mother flinch. People turned like we were a show. Somewhere, a toddler dropped a popsicle on the pavers, and it stuck. "I will apologize," I said, "for not catching the pattern sooner, for letting you take more than money for too long." My niece squeezed my fingers like a signal. My sister's nostrils flared. "You are dramatic." "Dramatic would be hiring a helicopter for prom," I said. Someone snorted and tried to hide it with a cough. "I did something boring. I followed the rules you signed. I protected the account you promised to honor." I looked at the cousins. "I will pay the school directly. The rest is smoke." "Should I have kept the peace instead of speaking out?" I asked out loud then, because I have learned to throw my questions into a crowd and let them weigh more than whispers. No one answered. The grill sizzled. The toddler started to cry about the popsicle. My sister muttered something under her breath that I will not dignify here and stalked off. My niece stayed. We ate watered-down lemonade cake and made a list on my phone of school supplies, a used graphing calculator, steel-toe boots for work, noise-canceling headphones for the bus, the little things that carry a life forward. That night, back home, I rinsed the paper plates and wiped barbecue sauce off the counter. The kitchen smelled like smoke and dawn. My husband handed me a glass of water and said, "We did the thing." I nodded. Then the house got quiet except for the dishwasher, and I felt the ache arrive, the ache of choosing the kid over the story my sister needs to tell herself. Some loyalties are flowers that cannot survive actual weather. Here is the one-liner that landed when the quiet got loud. Hearts are not debit cards, and futures are not favors.